Sia Leahy are in hot water over their transphobic comments. And I just gotta say, who cares if biological males play in women's sports? Just be inclusive.
Could not agree more. This is just a bunch of fear-mongering from right-wing bigots.
She's a bigot.
She's been a massive distraction from her team with her hate-filled rhetoric. Sia is not inclusive. And males invading women's sports isn't even a problem, as far as I'm concerned.
These female athletes just need to work harder.
And not blame others for their lack of success.
Transphobe.
As the captain, Sia is very much responsible for these boycotts, which have cost her team a playoff bid.
Guess we'll see how Sia handles all that pressure tonight.
Great ad by our friend Jennifer Say and her XXXY athletic wear brand. Love the clothing line and love what they stand for. They have the guts and the balls. The people over at Nike do not. And that message is right on. It's very timely, and they're thrilled, I'm sure, today, because the Trump EO that is expected to happen at 3 p.m. today is entitled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. It will ban transgender girls, meaning biological boys and women, from participating in female sports events in schools and colleges. It will keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports in schools and colleges. The Wall Street Journal reporting, we haven't seen it yet, that it's not immediately clear exactly what the contents of the order will entail, but one option is for President Trump to direct the Education Department to interpret federal Title IX rules as barring the participation of boys pretending to be girls in female sports categories. That's my phraseology. Of course, the Wall Street Journal was more PC. In the face of such an order, likely affecting all but a handful of the National Collegiate Athletic Association's 1,100 member schools, the NCAA has indicated that it will move rapidly to change its rules, depending on what Trump issues today. The president of the NCAA saying, we're a national governing body and we follow federal law. Clarity on this issue at the federal level would be very helpful. So this is it, guys. I mean, Trump already issued an EO saying you cannot change genders. That's not a thing. Men are men, women are women, and that's the federal government's policy. Get pronouns out of emails. Get any teaching that you can transition your sex out of all federal agencies. And we're not paying for any procedures through, our Medicare. And so on. Like, he's trying to use the tools he can to remove the public and the taxpayers from participating in this ideology. And this is a huge, huge issue on which he has overwhelming support from a majority of both parties, very high numbers against men posing as women participating in girls' sports. What do you make of it?
It's an 80-20 issue. I once interviewed Rand Paul, and it's like, in politics is a search for 80-20 issues to be on the right side of. And he was using it at that time, talking about both foreign aid, U.S. foreign aid, and also in his opposition to the Syrian war back when Barack Obama and John Kerry were drawing red lines. They wanted to intervene into Syria, but the American public did not have an appetite for that back in 2013. I predict that we're not going to hear much about this beginning in about 24 hours because precisely it is an 80-20 issue. And also, he does have broad authority under Title IX. Title IX, this is the fourth successive presidency that has changed Title IX, the interpretation of Title IX, beginning with Barack Obama, disastrously, in my view, changing the due process requirements to adjudicate campus sexual assault cases back in 2013, I think it was, or 14, which Trump, to his credit, changed back, and then Biden changed back, and then Trump changed back. But Title IX is about, a big portion of it is about women's sports in college. So it kind of makes sense to interpret it to have to do with women. So because it's an 80-20 issue, because it's sort of been like a paper tiger, it's been based on the pushing through these things has been based on people's silence in not taking the J.K. Rowling approach, because it wasn't worth the hassle to raise your voice about it. Megan, I don't know if you know that. Sometimes you get blowback if you bring this up in certain areas in the media. I think it's going to take place. It's not going to be challenged at all. I don't think legally. There's not going to be a leg to stand on it. And people are going to take the L, just like they're removing pronouns very quietly from their Twitter bios.
Totally
it's
disagree.
Beautiful. Buttigieg.
Okay. Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg removed his pronouns from his Twitter bio. Bend the knee, sir. Bend it. Hashtag you were been part of the problem. I just want to tell you this. In that ad we played from Jennifer Say, Riley Gaines was featured, along with Riley's younger sister, who I think is also a competitive athlete. And they talked about Sia. Oh, Sia's a bigot. Sia this, Sia that. It's Sia Lilly, who's featured, a University of Nevada volleyball captain who spoke out against having to compete against a trans athlete on the San Jose State team. That's a team whose captain has come on this show to speak out about being forced to play next to a man pretending to be a woman, being forced to share a locker room and a room on the road with a man pretending to be a woman, without the school even disclosing to her that the person they were rooming her with was actually a man. And it's, like these people featured in there have put real skin in the game and gotten hurt. I mean, I think Riley Gaines, she's actually been attacked. We know that. We saw that happen to her when she was trying to speak out about this on college campuses after the fact. She was forced to disrobe and get naked in front of Leah Thomas, walking around fully intact male, while these poor girls who were just trying to swim in the championship at the NCAA were trying to hide their naked bodies from this guy. It's sick. So good luck to those who do want to protest this. But here is how the Washington Post has reacted. This order is set to ricochet through school districts and college campuses across the country. So they are acknowledging that this will have the full effect of law. And then they quote the Human Rights Campaign, a far-left organization that used to just stand for gay rights and equality that most people could get behind, and it's gone full trans now. Totally abandoned the gay mission. They're totally all about the T and not the LGB. While this order will target transgender youth specifically, blanket bans have negative impacts on all girls. See, all girls are going to suffer now as a result of us keeping boys out of their sports.
I just want to say, when I said I fully disagree with Matt on this, I mean, the broader sense I agree, but I don't think it's going to go away. And the reason I don't think it's going to go away and disappear in the media is because it's an 80-20 issue in the media in the other direction. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that everyone's shocked that these are issues that the voters are like, no, we're not on the same page. But if you go back and look at the development of this issue, how it came, I always point out the word BIPOC. There was a moment when someone created this acronym for, I can't remember, Black, Indigenous
person of color.
And it came out of nowhere, and everyone started using it because they were afraid. They were like, I guess this is what we do now. And this was the same thing that happened with J.K. Rowling when it was like, we're going to have a Harry Potter reunion on HBO and not even going to invite the woman who created the franchise. Because do you think that the people within HBO, sure, some of the younger employees I'm sure did, but I know for a fact a lot of those people up top were just doing things because they were fearful of being accused and being attacked in the way you have and other people have. So I think that it's going to keep going because those people who make those attacks are all, inhabit the media. And the other thing that I was surprised about in this executive order is it doesn't go the other way, is that I want a ban also of biological women competing in men's sports, because there's no difference in gender. It's a social construct. So presumably it goes both ways. And we want to make sure that there are biological women not beating men in sports that they're better at them at. Because, it's all the same. There's no such
literally
thing
never happened. But sure, I'm fine with that too.
Hasn't?
I don't think so. We cover this subject a lot. But I will say, quick clarification, that Human Rights Campaign quote is just from HRC. It wasn't in the Washington Post. But in related news, you guys, Trump signed the EO, was it yesterday, saying any hospital that takes federal funds is not doing gender transition procedures on minors. Not puberty blockers, not cross-sex hormones, not surgeries. If you take federal funds, if you take Medicare, you take Medicaid, F off. You cannot do these procedures on minors. And that is how the federal government can put pressure on hospitals and other medical facilities to stop with the constant chopping off of little boys' penises as part of some weird vanity project by, in some cases, their parents, in some cases, a bizarre and deranged medical establishment or psychologist who gets involved. And we showed yesterday the weird Cynthia Nixon protest out of NYU Langone in New York because they denied puberty blockers to two 12-year-olds who'd been scheduled to get the injection in their arm. And now today we get follow-up reporting. Listen to this. Via The Cut. They go through the appropriately titled, in this case, offshoot of New York Magazine, The Cut, talks about reaction from trans parents. Father of a 15-year-old stockpiled a year's worth of meds for his child after the election. There's nothing more important in her life, and he has a boy, than having this care. We've known she was trans since she was 2.5. The mood in our home has been brutal since the election. We're an all-queer family. I'm a trans person myself, he adds. I'm very angry with a lot of despair. This is abuse. This sick person is abusing his 2.5-year-old, and President Trump just shut it down. And he won't get praised by anyone in the mainstream for it, but he may have saved that child's life, you guys.
I mean, I think it's important to just, and we don't have the executive order yet, but what I'll say briefly is, as Matt pointed out, like we've seen this go back and forth a bunch, and the attempts to try and kind of dictate exactly what the culture will be or how it will work through executive orders is probably a fraught project. Like the best you can hope for in a circumstance like that is a kind of reprieve from whatever kind of social craziness is happening at the moment. So I think folks have to really acknowledge that there are limits on what Donald Trump can do here. And I don't know that the actual precedent that currently exists, where you get into office and you just pass a bunch of executive orders reversing the thing that happened right before you were in office, that can't be the status quo that we actually want here. And moving back to a universe where ideal. Pluralism
we had on Senator Tuberville just this week. He tried, he's introduced, even with a Republican-controlled Senate, to get the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. And John Thune won't bring it to the floor for a vote, and we don't know why. They said they only want to bring the ones that we can actually have pass. They don't have 60 votes to get cloture. Well, get them on the record. Embarrass them. Start building the case. We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point, as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and our rising cost of living, and we could have a very big problem on our hands. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Are you diversifying? Gold can be very useful to you in this. It can be a safe haven in hard economic times. And Birch Gold has a super great reputation, and they will make it very easy to diversify a portion of your savings, if you so choose, into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k, in whole or in part, into an IRA in gold, and it will not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. You just text my initials, MK, to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.